Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Bebop here. Today's video is going to be about the Hatchet and Fire Staff combo. A lot of people's been asking me about when I stream daily on Twitch. So this will be for the Duneborn Hatchet and the Inferno. Now, this build does do a lot of damage. One thing that's great about the Inferno is that you can also scale it off strength. So right here, if your strength attribute is higher, replace base weapon damage scaling with strength. Plus 15% damage when you hit a target within 15 meters. Works on both weapons. So I ended up putting Empowering Fireball on there because Vicious already comes with it, so you cannot put Disdain Affliction. And Refreshing Pillar of Fire is great for PvP, but not necessarily great for PvE when you're just trying to do quick burst damage and get right back to your Hatchet, which is your main hand weapon. But you can choose either one. If you like the Pillar of Fire better because you also play PvP, then that's fine. It still will be great, but I choose to go with Empowering Fireball. Even though it was nerfed, it doesn't do as much damage as it used to. I still think it's probably the best to put on here, but that's for you to decide. Now, don't pay attention to the gems here. I have some of this for the Sandworm, and you really want to put protection on when you're running the Hive. So right now I have Punishing Karn in here, which is going to do more damage to, taunted enemies, and your melee attacks do 1% more damage, but you don't have any protection here. What I would do is go Punishing Onyx. If you have enough pieces just to have a full set aside set for the Hive, I would do Punishing right here. Punishing Onyxes, okay? Punishing Physical Ward. You have 2% physical ward damage absorption, and your melee attack still 1% damage. I would just do that if you have all 5 pieces just to set aside. You won't touch it, but to run the Gorgon with, and I think that would be your best chance for, boosting your melee damage overall. And then I have Refreshing Torrent is a must with the Hatchet build here with the Duneborn hook. You want to try to get your cooldowns as quick as possible. And then Enchanted Ward Refreshing. You want to try to get 4 out of 4 refreshing. I didn't do a good job of that here, so I'm 3 out of 4. But this was also not, that was for the last boss. When I switched up a little bit, the main boss I was running throughout the whole Hive was Empowering Toast, Refreshing, and Refreshing Toast Earring. So I was 4 out of 4 refreshing through all the Hive except for the last boss. Empowering Toast, so you could drink that before, let's say, the down phase on the first boss when he's getting ready to be stammed. If you don't have the stand bar glitch, when you can actually see his stam about to break, and then you would pop that and rotate to his back, and then that would help you get your empowerment up. I have the Sandworm chest piece, which has the illegal perk on it. The Keen Enchanted Ward Shuriken Energy. So Keen right here will help me get extra critical chance. And as you know, the Keen Berserk will also help get your extra critical chance. So it is just a lot of criticals you're going to be getting on a backlist boss. Now, on these Attuned Leather Pants, health is always a great option. I have a Relentless Freedom from way back in the day, tanking and, just playing with Greatsword. You want to have Relentless Freedom to get out of being rooted, but health would be great here. And Attuned Leather Pants also because you get the plus 11 attributes to all attributes. Now you could also do the crown. I haven't upgraded that fully, and I think in season 10 I will be switching to that because you can put Enchanted Ward on the crown. You cannot do that on here, so these are more PvP, kind of things with the elemental aversion. And I think now with the crown, you should be using that mostly. Right here with the feet, I didn't have another good pair with health. You want to have health on as many pieces as you can, but make sure you do get your refreshing 4 out of 4 and Enchanted Ward and health on that one. All right, on to the Hatchet, the Duneborn hook, which is the Sandworm Hatchet. Keen Berserk and Vicious come stock on the Hatchet. You get a random 3rd perk. Or you could put Refreshing Move on there. You could choose your 3rd perk. I have Refreshing Move, light and heavy attacks reduce your cooldowns, obviously. Vicious is going to be 7.3 critical damage. Your Keen Berserk is huge on the weapon. Gain 21% critical chance and 21% more crit damage while Berserk is active. So you are going to be doing a lot of damage while you're Berserked. As long as the group rend is still up and good. Most public lobbies are going to be lacking a little bit of rend here and there. So you will have to just base your judgment on your own experience at that point. But it does do really good damage. I've actually hit up to 10, 11k light hits on some mobs. That's the highest I've been able to hit. Now that's with a really kitted crew. So the rend is up a lot. but you can get up there 8,000-9,000 pretty often as long as Keen Berserk's active. And I run the Cunning Heart Rune of Firestorm. Allies that it passes through will gain haste, and then also it will inflict weaken on targets, and it will empower you. Now, I like to use that when, let's say on the first boss, we're gonna head out to spikes. I can use that, give all the teammates haste to get to the spikes quicker, or if the mobs are about to spawn on the second boss, you can use that either on the mobs or, you know, to have people, you know, get there faster off of the boss onto the mobs. Strike Protection, Divine, and Empowerment is what I have in my Ami. Now, of course, Bis will be Strike Protection, Empowered, and Health, so look for that. They are expensive, 70 grand and up. I run the Elemental Band, Keen Awareness, Hardy, and Leeching. Now, the Fire Staff will proc the Elemental Affinity, but a lot of people ask me why I run Elemental Band on setups that don't have any elemental damage. Well, it's just the Keen Awareness, Hardy, and Leeching. Here we are on the Hoplite Earring. Empowering Toast, Refreshing, and Refreshing Toast is what I run. So if you like Nimble or whatnot, you can, you know, have Empowering Toast, Refreshing, and Nimble or whatnot, but that's what I use right now. Now on to the skill tree. Here with the Hatchet, there's a couple different ways you can do this, okay? But you want to go right side ultimate for the best damage. Attacks deal 4% additional base damage per debuff on target, max 4 debuffs. Well, your targets are usually going to have 4 debuffs on them. That's 16% damage you'll be giving up if you go left side ultimate here on those boss fights, okay? So 16% damage is pretty big. I would always go right side for more damage. If you're new to the Hatchet or new to the game or whatnot, you want to go left side to defy death, then that's perfectly fine too. Just know you won't be doing as much damage. Now we have Berserk. That's going to give us 20% damage empowerment for 5 seconds. Hitting a target will extend duration by 1 second up to max 12 seconds. So as long as you're active, it will be, you know, active for 12 seconds. And if you go all the way down the tree, you have some life stealing things. You got increases your movement speed, and then your attacks are uninterruptible. This is really good for the second boss when all the mobs are spawning and the wolves are trying to jump on you. As long as you have Berserk up at that point, then you're gonna be able to go through getting, you know, mauled by the wolves. So that's really good. Right here, increase base damage 10% for every enemy within 5 meters. That's going to help do damage. After 3 successful light attacks or aimed throws on the same target, gain empowerment, granting 20% base damage for 3 seconds or until the next attack. Torrent, perform 4 fast attacks, dealing 90% weapon damage. And then you want to go rending throw down the tree. You also want to go with the cooldowns here. Throwing hatchets, hit the target with active debuff, reduce all hatchet ability cooldowns by 5%. Now, how you can vary this is if you don't want the uninterruptible because you feel like you're good enough to not have that. If you want to do a little bit more damage, you can simply just go 2 down the tree. You can even go 3 if you want the extra 5% life steal. But if you take this ability right here in Rage Strikes, abilities and heavy attacks deal 20% more base damage to targets below 30% health. Now, below 30% health is the key there. But when that boss or whatnot, enemies below 30% health, you will see when you do Torrent a pretty big increase in damage there. Now, also, when you're going to the first boss, I would recommend maybe not taking the throw unless you're good at switching weapons and you can block with your fire staff, because if he does a tailspin, you need to be able to block. If you have the throw on there, you will not be able to block. So sometimes on stream, you will see me spec into the Hatchet, you know, kind of like this, where I leave this 1 point here for this open throw and I'll just put it in afterwards. So this extra, there's 2 points here, right? So one's going to be for this, for after the first boss. The other one can be for the lifesteal if you want, or if you like to have haste when you're doing Torrent, so you can get off the boss or off the mobs real quick and move around in case you get spikes. You can choose to do that too. It's up to you. It's not a perfect science. Whatever you choose and whatever your playstyle works best. A lot of times I love the haste. I play over here on Nisa. I have 170 ping all the time, so the haste will help me get away from the spikes or enemies or certain attacks really quickly. So you could just do it like that if you want, if you're really good at managing not being staggered. And then after the first boss, you can click this and you're good to go. A couple different ways you can do that there. Now on the final boss, if you want to go pure throwing, then you can. And you can select it just like this. And then you can put your other point wherever you want. If you want more stamina on critical hits, you can do that. If you increase the duration of disease and weaken by additional 5 seconds, hitting target below 50% health, you can. Or you can do the life steal, okay? Whichever one you want to pick here, that is just fine. But with this ability set up right here, you're going to be able to, berserk, and then you can throw. I mean, you get your cooldowns really, really quickly. Now, if you spec into 25 focus also, you will get them down quicker. But with the Keen Berserk and those throws going, you will see up to 8k or so damage on the boss, and you will get a lot of criticals. And it's super nice as you're throwing Hatchet. It's not as fast as the Freya, but it is higher damage per hit. Just not as fast damage per hit. So which one overall is better? I'm not sure. With the dummies being down, I can't test it. All right. Let's go to Fire Staff here. The Fire Staff, you can set it up like this, or feel free to vary and choose what you want. If you want to go with this instead, that's fine. Instead of the dash in the Hive, you won't be using the dash too much unless you're going to the spikes or getting to the mobs. I like to get to the mobs with this. Now you can go down the tree here if you want. I just feel like there's other things that could add up to a little bit better damage. So right now I have Fireball and Pillar of Fire, and obviously Burnout. Now Fireball is going to be just a quick hit. What you want to do with the Fire Staff is burst damage. So you just really, if you need a backup because the boss is about to do a big hit, you can quickly do burst damage and then get right back to your Hatchet. But instead of just switching to your Fire Staff and doing the two abilities like I did right there, if you hit with a light attack or heavy attack on the enemy first, light and heavy attacks inflict a stack of smolder on foes, dealing 4.5% weapon damage. But right here, all attacks deal 10% increased base damage against targets with burn or smolder. So then your attacks will do 10% more damage as long as you have burn or smolder on. So you would go from your Hatchet, you want to back up, then you can do a heavy attack or you can do a light attack, inflict a smolder, and then you can launch your two abilities and get right back to the Hatchet. So that's how I would do that there. And then all the other stuff's to help get empowerment with the Fire Staff. The Pillar of Fire is really good at getting quick damage also. And then down here, when hitting a target within 4 meters of the player, create a field of fire around you, dealing 20% weapon damage to all nearby enemies. That's always really good. Then Smolder is going to last longer here. Dodging through enemy melee attack will inflict smolder. You're just trying to inflict as much smolder and burns as you can as quickly as you can, then to get back on the Hatchet. So that's how I have the Fire Staff set up there. Now attributes, here's where it varies. Now on the first boss, I like to go 355 dex and have strength food. And then after the first boss, I like to go 350 strength and then the rest dex. Now to simplify things, if you just keep it 355 dex, you'll be just fine. Here at the 350 mark of the strength, 10% base damage increase to abilities and the final attack in the melee light attack chain. The melee light attack chain is 4 hits. Unless you have the uninterruptible down the skill tree on Berserk, you might not get to that 4th hit a lot of times. Your 10% base increase to abilities is really good for the throwing idea on the last boss. And it's also a really good idea if you feel like you're going to be getting a lot of criticals anyways with Keen Berserk on the weapon. You can choose either way. I am not 100% sure which one would be the best way to do it for the Hive as far as overall damage. I can't test that other than maybe record a couple different playthroughs and see which one I like more. But here at the 350 dex, you get 15 crit chance while empowered. So on top of the Keen chest piece giving you crit chance and the Keen empowerment with the on the Hatchet, the Keen Berserk, you're going to get crits a lot. Now that first boss does not have a back until he gets stemmed, and the second boss has a very small hitbox on the back, so it's very hard to get a lot of critical hits on him. So if you're on the side, this will also help, especially on mobs because they move a lot. And then also the last boss does not have a back, and then the eggs and all that stuff you want to try to get critical hits on, obviously they don't have backs. So this will help you overall get more criticals on top of the Keen Berserk and the Keen chest piece if you have the Keen chest piece. If you don't have the Keen chest piece, I would definitely say go 355 dex. I'll just put it that way. But you can mess around, whichever way is going to be fine. And just keep in mind, if you go more 355 dex, you'll have a little bit less damage on the fire staff, so don't stay on it too long. 25 int, you can go 25 focus for the ability cooldowns, only 9 points to put in there, and then whatever con you feel like, 50 or less for the Hive in light gear. So hopefully that explains everything. If you think 5% more damage here, it's just a little bit too much points to put into intelligence there for that 5%. Don't feel like it's worth it. Being the 300, 350 on either one of these, you know, is really the way to go in my opinion. Well, that is the Duneborn and the Inferno Fire Staff build. So hopefully you like that, and feel free to stop by the stream on Twitch anytime. I'll see y'all in the next video. If you have any suggestions, this video was brought up by someone that asked me to do this yesterday. So if you have any suggestions for any videos, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll get to them when I can. All right, talk to y'all later. Have a good day. Bye.